A mayfly is born, mates, and dies within a single day. A Greenland shark swimming silently through the Arctic right now may have been alive before Shakespeare wrote his first play. Both are animals. Both evolved on the same planet. So why does one get a single sunrise and the other gets 5 centuries? The answer is not random. It is not luck. It is one of the most precise and brutal calculations in all of nature. And once you understand it, you will never look at your own life the same way again. Start with the most basic question. What is aging exactly?
Mm?
Most people assume aging is simply wear and tear. Things break down, machines rust, bodies fail. But biologists discovered something deeply uncomfortable about this idea. Aging is not an accident. It is, in many cases, a program. Your body does not simply forget to repair itself. In many species, it actively stops trying. The question is why? The answer starts with predators. Imagine you are a mouse. You live in a field. Every single day, owls, foxes, snakes, and hawks are trying to kill you. The average wild mouse does not die of old age. It dies of being eaten, usually within a few months. Now here is the critical question evolution asks. Is it worth investing enormous energy into building a body that lasts 50 years if that body is almost certainly going to be eaten within the first year? The answer, mathematically, is no. Evolution does not reward long-term investment in a body that will not survive long enough to use it. So mice evolved to reproduce fast, grow fast, and burn out fast. Their hearts beat 600 times per minute. They reach sexual maturity in 6 weeks. They are built for speed, not endurance. Now imagine you are a tortoise. You have a shell. Almost nothing can kill you. You do not need to outrun predators. You do not need to breed at 20 years old because you will almost certainly still be alive at 60. Evolution looks at your situation and makes a completely different calculation. Invest in the body. Repair the damage. Build something that lasts. And so tortoises live for over a century, reproduce slowly, and age at a pace that makes mammals look like they are moving in fast forward. This is the core insight that evolutionary biologist Peter Medawar identified in the 1950s, and that George Williams expanded into what became known as the disposable Soma theory. The body, the Soma, is disposable. It is a vehicle for genes. Evolution only cares about reproduction. Once a creature has passed on its genes, the body becomes irrelevant. And the longer a creature is likely to survive in the wild, due to size, armor, venom, or simply living somewhere predators cannot reach, the more evolution invests in keeping that body running. Here is the fact that stops most people cold. The Greenland shark, discovered to live over 400 years through carbon dating of its eye tissue by scientist Julius Nielsen in 2016, does not reach sexual maturity until it is approximately 150 years old. 150 years of life before it reproduces for the first time. A mouse reproduces at 6 weeks. The difference is not species arrogance, it is pure evolutionary logic applied to two completely different risk environments. But the predator theory only explains part of the picture, because some animals break the rules entirely. The naked mole rat is a small, nearly blind, deeply strange creature that lives underground in East Africa. By every rule of the predator theory, it should live like a mouse. Fast, brief, disposable. It is small, it is prey-sized, and yet it lives for up to 30 years, roughly 10 times longer than any comparable rodent. For decades, scientists assumed this was simply an anomaly. Then researcher Rochelle Buffenstein began studying naked mole rats in her laboratory in the 1980s and discovered something that rewrote everything scientists thought they knew about aging. Naked mole rats do not age in the conventional sense. Their risk of dying does not increase as they get older. In humans, in mice, in almost every other mammal, the older you get, the higher your probability of dying in any given year. A mathematical law called Gompertz's law that has held true across virtually every species studied. Naked mole rats violate it completely. A 30-year-old naked mole rat is no more likely to die than a 1-year-old. Buffenstein published these findings in 2018, and the scientific community was genuinely shocked. The animal was not just long-lived. It appeared to have solved something that evolution had never bothered to solve for any other small mammal: biological aging itself. The reason appears to be their underground lifestyle. They live in colonies, deep in tunnels, almost completely isolated from predators. Evolution, facing a low predation environment in a small body, arrived at the same solution it found for the tortoise: invest in the body. But the naked mole rat took it further than anyone expected. Now consider the other end of the spectrum, The Pacific salmon does something that no simple wear and tear theory of aging can explain. After years at sea, it returns to the freshwater stream where it was born, spawns, and then dies. Rapidly, deliberately, within days. Its immune system shuts down. Its body floods with cortisol. Its organs deteriorate at a speed that looks less like aging and more like self-destruction. This is not accident. It is programmed death, triggered by reproduction itself. The salmon's body, having served its reproductive purpose, essentially executes a self-destruct sequence. Resources that would have gone into survival now go into the eggs. The body becomes fertilizer for the next generation. This is a phenomenon biologist Michael Rose spent decades studying, and his work on the evolution of aging revealed something that challenges the most basic assumption most people carry about life. Death is not the enemy of evolution. In many cases, it is the tool. Which brings us to something that hits uncomfortably close. In 1956, a woman named Jeanne Calment was born in Arles, France. She would go on to become the oldest verified human being in recorded history, dying in 1997 at the age of 122. Researchers studied her genetics, her lifestyle, her diet. They found some genetic variants associated with longevity. They found she had smoked until her late 90s. They found no single clean answer. What they found instead was that human longevity appears to sit at an uncomfortable intersection. We are large enough that evolution invested in us more than a mouse, but not armored enough that it invested in us like a tortoise. We live in the middle ground, long enough to raise children who can raise children, and then, by evolutionary logic, largely expendable. The maximum human lifespan has barely moved in recorded history. People in ancient Rome who survived childhood infections and warfare could live into their 70s and 80s, just as people do today. What has changed is how many people reach old age, not how old old age gets. The ceiling appears fixed, and that ceiling, according to the disposable Soma theory, was set not by medicine or lifestyle, but by the length of time our ancestors needed to survive in order to reproduce and raise offspring in a world full of predators, disease, and starvation. You are, in the most literal biological sense, built to last long enough to matter to your genes. After that, the investment stops. But here is what makes that fact strange, rather than simply depressing. The naked mole rat proved that the investment does not have to stop. The biological mechanisms of aging are not laws of physics. They are evolutionary choices, choices that can, in principle, be unmade. Buffenstein's work, along with research by David Sinclair at Harvard on the biology of aging, suggests that the repair mechanisms exist in almost every species. They simply get switched off. The question is whether they can be switched back on. You will probably not live to 500. The math of your species does not currently allow it. But the Greenland shark, swimming in the darkness of the Arctic right now, older than any living human, not knowing it is old, not feeling the weight of centuries, it is proof that the program can be written differently. A mayfly is born, mates, and dies within a single day. And somewhere in the Arctic, a shark that was alive before your country existed is still moving through the dark water, unhurried, unbothered, following a different set of instructions entirely. The instructions were always arbitrary. They were just never written for you to question them.